Hello everyone! Alec Elcher, the SideQuest Gamer here, and happy 8th and final day of Hanukkah to my Jewish viewers. I hope you all enjoyed these reviews as much as I've had making them. Now, have any of you ever played a game that was fun all on its own, and then the second game comes out and all the issues you've had with the first game were resolved, and not only that, there were improvements upon all the aspects of the first game? Well, with that being said, today I'm reviewing Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage for the PlayStation. Or as you European viewers know it as, Gateway to Glimmer. I don't know why they call it Gateway to Glimmer over in Europe, but maybe for some non-English speaking European nations, Ripto's Rage might turn into something offensive. So anyways, let's roll the footage and check out this beloved PlayStation classic.
If there ever was a video game series I regret not playing as a kid, one would be the Sly trilogy, the other would be the Jak and Daxter trilogy, and the last would be the Spyro trilogy. Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage is the real reason Spyro is as awesome as he is, because, let's face it, if Spyro 1 was the only one ever released, it would only be remembered as a cult classic, kind of like Tomba and Jersey Devil. I'm not saying it's bad, in fact, it's pretty good, but it does suffer from simply being an experimental 3D game put to the test in 20 plus levels. Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage was developed by Insomniac, who else, and published by Universal on the PlayStation console in 1999, and it has pretty much everything a good collectathon needs: an easy-to-use camera that you can even customize in the options menu, things to collect, memorable moments, a good number of memorable levels, lovable side characters, and actual good boss battles. Basically, in Spyro 2, Spyro and Sparks are bored and looking for something to do, so they decide to cross a portal to the vacation spot, Dragon Shores, and, of course, have a vacation. But instead, they reintegrate into the world of Avalar, where they meet a centaur-like creature named Allura, and an anthropomorphic cheetah named Hunter, as well as the scientist Muln who accidentally brought Spyro to the world, simply known as the Professor. They explain that they accidentally brought an evil magician warlord to Avalar, who so happens to hate dragons, but with the help of his thugs, Gulp and Crush, Ripto wreaks havoc in the many worlds of Avalar, mainly by having a smaller faction of the world start an uprising. Or in one case have two worlds, Zephyr and Breeze Harbor, go to war with each other. So, as Spyro, your goal is to help end these uprisings and wars going on in exchange for talismans. You need all of the region's talismans to progress on to the next world, so unlike the first game, there's no skipping levels except the flying levels. But also, this is important, if you're one of those who wants to go from point A to point B and not bother collecting everything, stop right there, because getting the talismans isn't enough. You see, although other than the cutscenes themselves that hint on the importance of collecting orbs, there's really nothing in the game that tells you that collecting orbs, which may seem optional, is actually mandatory if you want to beat the game. Now, out of a total of 65 orbs in the game, you only need to collect 40 to get to Ripto and finish him. But the side quests for the orbs are really fun, and I recommend giving them a go, and they're easily my favorite part of the game overall. However, this brings me to my next grievance in the game, the backtracking. In the game, there's this greedy stout bear known as Moneybags who unlocks bridges, levels, and even abilities to help you out in your adventure in exchange for quite a sum of gems. But, I mean, the climb ability you cannot get until you reach the second hub world, Autumn Plains, which sucks because back on the first world, some levels have ladders in them with gems on top, and you can't reach those gems until you have that ability, so you have to go all the way back to those levels and collect the gems and orbs that you left behind. And then there's the side quests you can't reach until you have a certain ability, like on Fracture Hills, for example, where you have to escort a senile old man with a potion potion that can free Hunter from cement, but the Earthshapers want the senile old man dead, and you constantly have to knock the Earthshapers back so the senile old man doesn't get hit. And then when you do reach the destination, the old man gives you an orb, and with Hunter free from cement, Hunter offers you the opportunity to get another orb, but you can't do that mission until you get the head bash ability at Winter Tundra, the third and final hub world. So you go to Winter Tundra and get the head bash ability and return to Fracture Hills, but because you re-entered the level, every side quest resets, and now you have to do the escort mission all over again. And then you have to help Hunter take down those Earthshapers, which is immensely satisfying after taking so many blows to the head during the many attempts of the escort mission. But keep in mind, that's really the only thing wrong with this game, but if backtracking's the only problem, then this game's got a good thing going for it. I have to say that the voice acting is much better in this game than the first one. It's still cartoony, but the voice actors and actresses bring the characters to life. This time, Spyro is voiced by Tom Kenny, who is well known as the voice actor for the infamous SpongeBob. Sorry, but that cartoon is banned in so many households, if not countries. There's even a Facebook group of parents dedicated to banning SpongeBob from television. It even was rumored to be originally intended to be an adult pornographic cartoon. I mean, Mr. Krabs, how is that not an STD joke that adults could only get? Well, enough of my grievances with SpongeBob. Let's get back to the game. It's worth noting that this is Tom Kenny's first voice role in a video game, other than that Nickelodeon 3D Movie Maker game. But as Spyro, he's pretty good, and kind of reminds me of Jaleel White's Sonic the Hedgehog, but Spyro doesn't nearly talk as much as he did in the first game, since you no longer interact with Elder Dragons. He only talks in certain cutscenes, mainly insulting Ripto and his minions. Also, Tom Kenny also voices the role of the Professor, as well as some of the level's side characters. The other voice actors and actresses do a pretty good job too, especially Greg Berger for voicing both the lovable dopey cheetah known as Hunter, as well as the Napoleon-esque Ripto. Random fun fact, to fans of Frasier, remember that episode when Frasier's brother Niles had a pet cockatoo? Well, in the episode To Kill a Talking Bird, the cockatoo was voiced by Greg himself, although he was uncredited for the role. He mainly provides additional voices to a lot of cartoons on Nickelodeon, Disney XD, and Cartoon Network, and still does to this day. The voice actress Melissa Disney voiced Allura the Fawn and some level side characters as well, and she did a pretty good job herself. So, Spyro 2's voice talent is pretty strong, and although I only recognize Tom Kenny's name, the characters are definitely not boring when you hear them. One of the highlights of Spyro 2 that is a definite improvement from the first game is that the boss battles actually feel like boss battles. And let me tell you that on the first playthrough, some of these bosses can be somewhat challenging, and I really like it that way. While there's only 3 bosses in the game total, there are 3 memorable bosses that actually put up a good fight rather than 6 extremely underwhelming quote-unquote boss battles from the first game. The game also introduces interactable NPCs, and I know that you got to talk to the dragon statues in the first game, but those don't really count as NPCs since they only said one thing and one thing only. An NPC or non-playable character reacts to events that transpired in the game and how you cause the effect. While some are forgettable, others are memorable, like the hippo wearing a fez who grew big every time he ate an apple. There's also the 2 secret agent kids known as Handel and Greta, who were held on the scene by enemies, and you had to rescue Handel to get the talisman. You later learn that these 2 can actually hold their own by combining powers, knocking all the surrounding enemies sky high. And it's nice that they make a return in the third game, since they're really funny characters. There's also a side quest where you help a caveman rebuild a skeleton friend by collecting all the bones scattered throughout the level, and in the end, he does a combination of disco dancing and the moonwalk. He also returns in the third game. As for main characters introduced in the game, I love the lovable, clumsy cheetah Hunter. Because although he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, he is well known in Avalar as a record-holding aviator, skillful remote pilot to a remote control plane, superhero of Metro Speedway, crossbow marksman, and tamer of manta rays, just to list a few. And most of the orbs you collect in this game, you'll probably be collecting from Hunter or in a side quest that involves Hunter in some way. Allura the Fawn I like too, since she's the heart of the group that gets everyone to get their act together. So you could say she's the leader of the group, since although the professor is the smartest out of all of them, he's really not at all qualified with planning, and neither is Hunter. I have to be honest, and don't hate me for saying this, but the professor I really didn't care about, since he really has no personality other than what was already established with the white coat he dons. But Hunter and the professor return in later installments of the classic Spyro series. Now, Moneybags I really love because he's a neat gameplay mechanic, and that he's such an immodest jerk that I love to hate him. If that even makes any sense. Sure, he drains all the gems from you, but in the next game, he'll get what's coming to him. Trust me. So anyways, well, level design is improved in every way. Like I said before, you can't skip any levels except for the levels in the Winter Tundra hub world, since those only have orbs, as well as the flying levels. But the thing I liked about these new levels is that they're designed not only as collectathon levels, but also as point A to point B levels, like a standard level in a 2D platformer. Sure, this happened in the first game, but the inclusion of side quests adds to the replayability of the game. Other than collecting gems, orbs, and talismans, there's these precursor to PlayStation trophies and Xbox achievements where if you do a certain task, you get a skill point. Some of these range from getting a perfect score in the Colossus hockey game, doing 3 laps in Fracture Hills with a super dash, which is harder than it sounds, collecting everything in a flying level under a certain time, to defeating a boss without taking damage. Warning, these skill points can be hard sometimes, so be sure to get all orbs, gems, and talismans to unlock the permanent Super Flame power-up in Dragon Shore so that you can take down bosses with no problem, and even the hockey game would be much easier. Trust me. Do not attempt to do all the skill points without the Super Flame power-up. In the game, there are a total of 16 skill points to acquire, but you only need 8 or 9 to unlock an epilogue. Collect the rest to expand it with pages of extinct creatures of Avalar. There's really nothing spectacular, but if you want something to do with a permanent Super Flame, now you have your chance. But other than that, skill points are kind of useless. But the epilogue's pretty funny, so at least get 8 or 9, then call it quits. Now let's talk about the music of the game. It's yet again under the direction of the drummer from The Police, Stuart Copeland, and he did a pretty good, decent job with the music. None of the game's soundtracks are stuck in my head, to be honest, but the music does fit the levels pretty well and doesn't give a very happy kind of atmosphere, since this game doesn't take itself too seriously. It's not epic, but I wouldn't have it any other way, and it is improved from the first, and he did a very nice job. If anything, Copeland's music adds to the immersion of Spyro 2. So, the big question is, does Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage / Gateway to Glimmer still hold up? Well, the character models are pretty rubbery and the textures and terrain are pretty flat, but it actually aged pretty well, which is an amazing achievement, especially for a PlayStation 1 game. Mainly because it adopts a cartoony kind of style, and cartoons don't age, surprisingly. I mean, watch Bugs Bunny cartoon from the 1940s and you'll be like, this is still pretty good. Same goes for video games. I mean, look at The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. This game aged the best out of all the games in the entire series, including later installments, mainly because it adopted a cartoon style that fit the gameplay very well. So, if you ever want to make a video game, be sure to try cel-shaded graphics or cartoon style so it ages pretty well for future generations to enjoy, just as the first generation did. So, overall, I would give this game a 94 out of 100. I would recommend this game to be the first game you try out on the PlayStation for its moderate difficulty. It's easily a 6 to 8 hour game on your first playthrough, depending if you're going after everything or just trying to get to the end, with the bare minimum. I've yet to play Spyro 3 Year of the Dragon, but so far so good with the Spyro series, and I will be reviewing that game sometime in January, but I'm going to be gone for a few weeks with hopefully a new microphone and a new direction in the whole SideQuest Gamer review show. Thank you all so much for a fantastic first year of the SideQuest Gamer. As of December 24th, I have 60 plus subscribers. You've all been really great to me, and I owe all of you guys a review from one of the most requested games I got in the comments section. So when this review show returns in January, I will be reviewing the actual Oddworld's Abe Odyssey for the PlayStation. Not a Game Boy port, I already covered the two. I will be reviewing the actual Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, and boy, it's going to be epic. And thank you all so much for sticking around to watch my Hannukkah review marathon, and although it was really taxing to edit, it was worth it in the end. So happy 8th and final day of Hanukkah to my Jewish viewers, and Merry Christmas in advance to my Christian and agnostic viewers. Whatever holiday you celebrate in December, I hope you all have a great time. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to stay awesome. Happy holidays.